Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the Wade 8085 Ultra, right? And this is of course the college colorway, and it's basically just this all red colorway. There's also some pretty nice colorways available now, but Way of Wade is actually having a sale, and you can get like the All City 12 Encore, which is a really nice performer, the 8084 Ultra, and also there is that Octanit all red colorway, but also that champagne colorway looks extremely good. But yeah, pretty much all the 8084 Ultras you can get for $30 to $40 off. So you can get the 8084 Ultra for like 120 bucks, which is a crazy deal. You know what I mean? Like you can get full length Boom pretty much for 120 bucks, which is insane. So if you guys do want to call, but try to leave in the free link in the description box if you do choose to get any of those shoes that I just mentioned. It does help me out if you buy it through the free link in the description box. But let's get it started right off with the traction. So we have a herringbone traction pattern for the entire outsole, and it's also a solid rubber in this colorway, of course. And it's a mix of GCU and tough rubber, right? And which is amazing, right? So GCU has been really nice from my experience. You know, all the shoes that use GCU from Li-Ning as well as Way of Wade have been really nice. It's had top tier traction for me from my personal experience, right? So yeah, the GCU is going around the tip of the toe, right? And it does, I do like how it kind of like widens out here a little bit, you know what I mean, for the ball of your foot, which is where you're putting a lot of force, of course, which is good because GCU is specifically made for really good grip, right? So GCU is their ground control unit, which is kind of like a polyurethane resin, I believe it was, and it has really good bite, and also it's supposed to be a little bit more durable than rubber, right? But then for the rest of the outsole, we have tough rubber, which is also supposed to be 2.5 times more durable than traditional rubber, which is nice, you know what I mean? So as far as the durability goes, I mean, you should be covered. You know, the rubber is actually pretty hard. You know, the grooves actually look a little bit thinner, especially here in the midfoot area. I guess it does get a little bit thicker where like the ball of your foot is, again, which is where like it's a highway area, but the rubber, or I guess whatever compound they're using, is actually pretty hard, and also the grooves are pretty deep, so you should be fine on an outdoor court, right? So yeah, if you're playing on a clean court, how is the traction? It's freaking phenomenal. It has an amazing bite, and yeah, it stops on a dime. So it's a top tier stop. It has top tier traction on a clean court, and pretty much I really didn't need to break it in, you know what I mean? It was good right out the box pretty much. So yeah, there's the clean court. Also, it has a very nice loud high-pitched squeak, which is weird because usually GCU doesn't squeak, you know what I mean? Some of the GCU outsoles don't squeak too much, but I think with their more newer, or maybe they made like a different compound for the GCU, I don't know, but it has been squeaking, and this shoe has a very nice loud high-pitched squeak, which has nothing to do with performance, of course, but I like to have a nice squeak, and I feel like a lot of you guys do as well, right? And also, how is the dust performance? Dust performance is also extremely nice, right? So if you're playing on a lightly dusty court, you're gonna be good to go. It bites through dust extremely well, and it also doesn't pick up dust that quickly, right? So when I was playing on a lightly dusty court, right? So for example, I was playing this shoe, right? The 0x1, which has a really nice bite on a clean court, but on a dusty court, it was a dust magnet, you know what I mean? Which made me not really like playing that shoe, right? But then once I switched into this, it had really good traction, of course. Also extremely easy wipe, and it bit through the dust extremely well, right? But also, if you're playing on a moderately dusty court to a heavily dusty court, you should be good to go as well. Of course, if you're playing on a super dusty court, most shoes pick up dust, right? But of course, for this one, it's gonna pick up dust a lot less quickly than other shoes, and also it's gonna be a very easy wipe. And once you do wipe, it bites through dust extremely well until it picks up a little bit of that dust again, right? Which again, it doesn't pick up dust that quickly. So yeah, dust performance is also extremely good. So yeah, the 8085 Ultra has top tier performance for the traction, which is why it was in the top tractions list video, right? So there is the traction there. Also here in the middle of the outsole, we can see a carbon fiber midfoot chain plate, right? So now moving on to the heel to toe transition, it actually feels pretty smooth for it being a like drop-in midsole setup, right? So here in the heel, you can see, look at this, it's all plastic and also all rubber, right? So there's no compression here, it's pretty dang stiff. However, it does have a very nice rounded shape, look at that. So nice rounded shape, and also with the Super Boom being so freaking soft, it actually doesn't feel that clunky here in the heel. I mean, it does feel a little bit clunky though, but it's actually not as clunky as I thought it would be, right? And then coming here into the forefoot, we also have a crazy nice curved shape, which I do like. And also look at this, extremely flexible forefoot, right? So it's just a really smooth and fluid feeling shoe once you come here into the forefoot, which does feel nice. It's not super springy, however, you know, but it does retain its shape and have a little bit, just a tiny bit of a springy feel, a little bit, you know, but it's mostly just like a fluid, more flexible forefoot, right? So yeah, just like the 8084 Ultra, just like the Kobe 8, Kobe 9, Kobe 11, feels very similar, right? But a little clunky here in the heel. And now moving on to the cushioning setup, which is my favorite part about this shoe, right? So yeah, they're using Super Boom, and it's their first shoe that has Super Boom from Wave 08, of course, right? And we, of course, have a drop-in midsole, which is, you know, the 808 line is like all their shoes have a drop in midsole, right? And yeah, they were saying, you know, it's Super Boom, it's a new foam, it's actually supposed to be better than Boom. I was like, we'll see about that, right? But I got these in, and like just like first impressions, I put my foot in to the shoe, and the step-in comfort and the underfoot cushion is the softest that you can get right now, right? I guess besides like, you know, the Zion 4 with like a Zoom Strobel unit, you know what I mean? But this is just crazy, and they're doing it with foam, which is kind of crazy, you know what I mean? So yeah, step-in comfort is freaking soft, right? And for me personally, I don't think it's mushy, and I don't think it's too soft because the foam is actually quite thin. You know what I mean? It's not super thin, but it's pretty thin, and it has really good core feel. You know what I mean? So especially here in the forefoot, but also in the heel, it has good core feel. And because of that, it's really soft, but I don't think it's too much, but I also don't think it's too little. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like, oh, it's soft and then it stops. You know what I mean? It's really nice, you know? And so yeah, step-in comfort is one of the best and most comfortable that you can get right now, right? But also underfoot cushion, once you start going, once you start jumping, sprinting, you know, doing step backs and start playing, it's really soft, but then also gets bouncy. You know, it has a nice little bounce. It actually reminds me of Zoom. Of course, not Zoom Strobel. It reminds me of like the old school setup. You know what I mean? With like a Strobel board over the, you know, full-length Zoom unit, which I love. You know what I mean? So yeah, step-in comfort underfoot cushion, extremely nice. Of course, there is no heel compression because the outside of the shoe is just plastic and rubber. But again, your heel digs into that foam. It's super freaking nice. Also, again, bouncy. Impact protection also is extremely nice. You know what I mean? Like some setups with this drop-in midsole sometimes are a little bit too soft. And then because of that, your foot hits, or it bottoms out the cushion and then hits the floor a little bit, right? But for some reason, my foot really didn't do that too much, right? If I was heel striking really hard, then just a tiny bit, it would hurt a little bit, you know what I mean? Or I could feel the floor just a tiny bit, but it wasn't anything where like it was painful, you know what I mean? And also, of course, in the forefoot, it was pretty good. So yeah, this is one of my favorite cushioning setups right now, you know what I mean? I feel like it has the craziness of like the GT Hustle 3 and like the GT Jump 2. You know what I mean? It's like crazy, you know? It's like fun and just really, really nice and over the top in my personal opinion, but it's like not overly too soft because, you know, of course the GT Jump 2 and the GT Hustle 3 is just way too thick. It's way too like high up off the ground, which, you know, I didn't like. But with this setup, you still have good core feel, and it doesn't feel too mushy, too soft, or anything like that, you know? So, or at least for me, it doesn't, right? I feel like, you know, if you want a really stiff and responsive feel from your cushioning setup, then this might be a little bit too much, but I feel like most people will enjoy it because, first of all, again, like I said, the foam is thin, core feel is extremely good as well, right? So, yeah, cushioning setup, very, very nice. And then moving on to the upper. So for the upper, we do have this kind of like textile mesh material, and also here in the toe box you can see an underlaying material, which is pretty much this mesh, and it's like the mesh material that the tongue is connected to, right? So it goes underneath this textile mesh material. So it is double layered like most hoop shoes are, right? But yeah, it's a really, really thin material. Look at this, super freaking thin. It breaks in, you know, like you don't need to break it in at all. You know what I mean? It conforms to your foot extremely well. It's soft and comfortable, but it doesn't stretch at all. You know what I mean? You can also see some like embroidered parts of the upper, you know what I mean? Adds a little bit to the support, also durability. And also, of course, airflow is extremely good. Like there's a good amount of airflow through the entire upper pretty much, right here in the toe box, also here in the midfoot area, like over the tongue. So it feels nice here in the toe box, and then coming here into the midfoot, it stays extremely thin, but it is a little bit more glued down, feels a little bit more stiff, you know. We do have some synthetic overlays at the tip of the toe for extra durability and support, and it kind of extends here into the midfoot as well, right? We have kind of like a flat lace, right? And also the laces do go through these kind of like cables going down the middle of the tongue. Also, the tongue has zero padding. Very, very minimal padding, and it's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And then here in the ankle area, we have like an average amount of padding, you know what I mean? So not super cozy or anything. One thing I do like about the material here on the lateral side is it's like a very nice, buttery, soft and smooth suede material, you know what I mean? So that's a pretty nice quality premium touch. And then here in the heel, we do have kind of like this plastic material, right, with this really sharp shape, you know. So that, of course, that's the external TPU heel counter. So yeah, I actually really like the material. The only thing I would worry about, of course, because the material is just so thin here in the toe box, is the durability, you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like it'll last like the longest time. I mean, you do have the synthetic overlays here, so if you do toe drags, then you'll probably be covered, but with this material, it doesn't seem super durable to me, you know what I mean? But overall, like on foot, it feels really nice and thin and overall supportive for me personally, you know what I mean? Of course, it's not the most supportive upper, not the most supportive material, but I feel like most people, it'll be adequate, you know what I mean? So there's the upper there. Moving on to the fit. So I went up half a size and the shoe fits me long, which kind of sucks, but I don't really mind that too much because the lockdown is so good. So yeah, I would suggest going true to size for most people. So again, going up half a size, there is length. Also here in the toe box, it's actually quite snug, even though it is long and even though I did go up half a size, right? Look at this. Look at how skinny it is here in the toe box, you know what I mean? So I actually do like that, right? So it kind of keeps my toes in place with that snug kind of fit here in the toe box, but also with the really good lockdown of the Super Boom drop-in midsole, right? If you look at the texture on there, like if you ever put on like, you know, a drop-in midsole setup, the foam usually is like sticky, so it kind of like scrunches up underneath your foot. It's kind of annoying putting the shoe on, but once you fix that, it has really good lockdown, which I do like, right? And the 808 Ultra does the same thing here. So I didn't really mind the length all too much. Also width-wise, it's actually kind of wide. You know, that might be because it is half size large for me. I guess widening my pinky toe a little bit, you know. But also, again, I didn't really mind that all too much because of the really good lockdown, right? So again, if you do want to be a little bit on the safer side of things, or you have like a wide foot, then you should be fine going up half a size because the lockdown is good. But if you want more of a snug fit, of course, then go true to size, right? So there's that. Moving on to support and lockdown. Also, this shoe does an amazing job for support and lockdown, right? So for lateral containment, I was good to go. My foot was not coming out of the footbed at all, right? So the first line of defense, of course, would be the really good lockdown from the texture of the top of the drop-in midsole, right? So that, again, has really good lockdown, keeps your foot in place. But also, if you look at the side of the drop-in, we have a sidewall, raised sidewall, just a tiny bit, which does help for lateral support and lateral containment as well, of course. But also, if you look at the side of the shoe, like the outside, you can see the plastic, right? The plastic comes up here, acting as a sidewall here in the forefoot. And then here in the heel, we have an external heel counter with an internal TPU heel counter, it feels like. Look at this, right? It feels very stiff here. So yeah, your foot is not coming out of the footbed at all. And even if you're a bigger dude, you should be good to go. I feel like you'll be fine, right? Also, look at this. Look at the lateral stability, extremely wide base. You can see how wide it is. Like a pretty crazy outrigger, you know? So yeah, lateral stability is really good. And again, also you do have really good core feel. You are very low to the ground here in the forefoot. So I was good for lateral stability, and I had zero heel slippage. And again, because of that, you know, texture on the top of the drop-in, my foot felt extremely locked into the shoe and locked down, right? So yeah, support and lockdown, this shoe is extremely good at that. And even if you're a bigger dude and you need a lot of support, I feel like you'll be fine, right? And then we on to the weight of the shoe. If I remember correctly, I think it's a little bit lighter than average, right? Oh yeah, 11.85 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. 11.85 ounces on the dot. So yeah, it is lighter than average. The average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces, but also this shoe is a half size large, right? So I feel like it would be around probably like 11.6 ounces, you know what I mean? But anyways, yeah, this shoe feels extremely lightweight. Also extremely minimal for the upper. It has great core feel. I guess the only kind of like mushy part, if you could call it that, again, it wasn't mushy for me, but I feel like some people might find it a little bit too soft for them. Then I guess, yeah, you can say that it is a little bit on the mushier side of things, not super responsive for the cushioning setup, but again, for me, it was fine, especially since it also did give me a good amount of bounce, right? So yeah, it's a very responsive shoe, just really comfortable, very fun, and it just felt like an amazing guard shoe to me when I was playing it, you know what I mean? And now moving on to the aesthetics, I feel like it looks really good. You know what I mean? Like this colorway looks amazing. The lizard colorway, I believe, looks really cool as well. It's just like a really crazy, unique colorway. Usually I don't like super loud colorways, but I feel like that looks pretty. But there's also a really nice kind of like white and gold colorway out. So yeah, I feel like they did a really good job on the design. And it definitely looks a lot better than the 808 Ultra in my personal opinion. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah. Okay, so I feel like I can recommend this to most people, right? Whatever playstyle you have, you know what I mean? Like if you're a really low to the ground, nimble type of feel, type of shoe guy, you know what I mean? And then this is amazing, right? If you're a guard, you'll really, really love this shoe, you know? Also, if you're a bigger dude, I feel like it'll be good too. You know, support's great, lockdown's amazing, while this shoe still feels like really lightweight and minimal, you know? So yeah, it's just a great overall shoe all around. There's really nothing bad I can say about this shoe. I guess the only minor thing I would change is maybe add just like a little bit of a foam midsole, I mean. You know what I mean? Kind of like the Kobe 8. Why do they, with the drop in midsole setup, why do they always have like plastic and rubber, you know? Makes it feel a little bit clunky, but again, it's not that bad, you know? So yeah, this is one of my favorite hoop shoes so far this year. It's so nice, you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people will enjoy it, especially since the cushioning setup is so crazy, you know? So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Wade 808 Ultra. Again, if you guys do want to copy, try to leave in the free link in the description box, but that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.